we check the central temperature minimum. There was a non-zero, tangential flux, and normal shear stress because those constitute law, like a bomb. Because of that, we have the non-zero normal shear stress. Similarly, we can have the non-zero tangential flux. The linear framework, it should be strictly zero. So this is Navier-Stokes solution. We already explained a little bit about. Just I would like to remind one more. This is kinetic equation. We have the force term, and then they will give you for the conservation law like this one. So variation of shear stress, which is the cross string wise, should be rho A because we have the gravity there. And then this is y momentum, p plus pi yy. The change of that value must be zero, which means p plus pi yy or zero, the constant. In Navier-Stokes pi yy for uy, the velocity shear, always zero. Therefore, which means dp over dy is zero, which means p is constant. So in this case, in the linear first order framework, pressure is minimum. There's no way to predict otherwise unless you bring the second order quantity. And this is Navier-Stokes first law. So shear stress is basically uy, du over dy. And the heat flux, the normal heat flux is just dt over dy. And then there's no way you could have qx because constitutive equation tell you there should be always zero. This 1 dimensional velocity shear case. Others, pi y should be zero, pi yg should be zero. And then I define Richardson number. Mach number is based on average velocity. This one, this we don't know, it's unknown. By the way, Newton number is input. So we specify PM, which means the pressure at the middle. But in this case, pressure is always uniform. P is same as PM. And that is, of course, Newton number times Mach number. So you have UR and so on. And then introduce this quantity and this kind of thing. And then next page, T ds equal dy. By doing so, we have only S as independent variable, not T, not Y. So there was the ideas. By doing so, the previous, the introduction, the average velocity, average temperature become this auxiliary variable. Because I introduced this way, that equation becomes this one, all the solution must satisfy this. So this extra equation will impose the type of U and the type of temperature solution. Then for example, remember d pi xy divided by dy equal must be rho A. The rho is PRT and A is here. Anyway, because I used S, that we can just integrate. Therefore, pi xy is just linear. And then this is Navier-Stokes law. Because velocity gradient there, that becomes just shear stress. Because I introduced S, therefore, in general, Maxwell, the viscosity is T, in this case Maxwell. And therefore, there must be temperature. But nonetheless, I introduced S, therefore, there is no temperature. So I just integrate once more. So velocity profile becomes S squared. There's some boundary condition, and this anomalous condition. This case is simple. And then you have this kind of solution. Again, parabolic S. So in general, it's parabolic, but the S is scaled by temperature. Therefore, in strict sense, it's not parabolic. It's very close to parabolic. And then this is the temperature jump condition, Ramulo temperature jump condition. And you can do Maxwell jump condition. It doesn't matter. And then we have this kind of the algebraic equation provide the average. The T star W is because I introduced T W star is TR divided by TW. The world temperature divided by TR, average temperature anyway. So this is solution you have to determine. And this equation will give you verification. And then through this equation we have the central velocity and so on. So again, these are the, and then in that program there is S represented as Y. So in this case, it will be complicated. Fifth order as a verification. Nonetheless, you can solve it. Or in computer, you calculate, because this is 1 to 1, calculate S and then Y, put Y and S actually. And you just using Y, then you can plug it, no problem at all. And this mass flow rate, I already mentioned. And that's basically a function of this slip coefficient, alpha, remember the degree of the non-equilibrium. And then some U star zero mean the central velocity. And then we have the central velocity. So now we are talking about second order solution. So we already tested, we know what solution look like. Now how come that kind of solution? The typical part is coarse stream pressure distribution, there also density distribution. If you check some literature, in any case there is no density information. Because in order to show it, you have to make sure not only density but also pressure must be right. Therefore many people skip it. Anyway, this is again the second order constitutive equations or the relationship after second order closure. Remember, in this case, this is velocity shear, therefore these terms become zero, so it will go away. And then this is second order approximation, and then we introduce second order, so we don't have higher order terms. And then you know the component form of those equations, because lecture 8, I guess, that page here. So this is component form of the tensors. So in this second order terms, you just use this one. So I used that expressions and then assume Uy only. The Uy, which means round U divided by round Y only. Then that equation a little bit complicated, simplified. So we have the pi YY component, the pi XY component, which are uninteresting. Then y-hand term become pi YY, pi XY, and then Q second, which is this is just approximation F, the same as Q second. And the minus P of viscosity, viscosity. Then this term becomes this one. As you can see in Navier-Stokes framework, the Uy cannot generate pi YY, so this should be zero. So if you ignore these things and F is 1, that is exactly Navier-Stokes constitutive law. But once include the second order, there is extra terms. So this will play very important role. This is second order effect. And then you have the Q term, because this is a Q term, scalar term appear here. So it is structure shows the solution of this equation is this one. So if I assuming F approximation 1, then solution of this one becomes this one. If I approximate this is just a Q second, then we have the difference is F is 1, this will become this one. So this is strictly second order approximation. This is approximation second order, but assuming this Q second is 1, more like grad approximation. So once you do that, in the case of a compression, you have the singularity. So you cannot do it. But in this case, this is what you plot in the exercise 1, the dot line. Do you remember that, right? Dot line. Dot line is this one. So it just explains y equal 3x divided by 3 plus 2x squared. You can easily write it. That's the dot. And then you're keeping this true term, hyperbolic sine function, then solution is a little bit different. What they mean is, and then let me add one thing. Just divide each other. This is two equations. One equation, another equation, but has a common factors. So you divide each other, this will cancel out, right? Which means either one over hyperbolic sine function, whatever that it is, these guys will cancel out. Then you have this. This is hypo stress control. So stress constraint, I'm talking about ellipse in the hypo. So this thing is very, in some sense, very accurate because you don't need to approximate this one here, second order, first order, whatever. So this is more like fundamental properties of this constituted equation in the case of velocity system, which means shear velocity and normal stress must be connected to each other in the form of which is ellipse. So they cannot play along. And then this one either satisfied in this case also this case. But this solution will be slightly different because there is a hyperbolic sine function, but nonetheless more like the qualitatively similar one. So this is very important fact. So what that means is, originally I have 6 dimension and the 3 dimension, 9 dimensional topological problem. If you assume compression and expansions, then this becomes, in particular this one becomes just one equation. If you assume y only, this becomes just 2 dimension. And then those, the property of the equations are different. In some case, very highly depending on what this Q term is. But sometimes it doesn't matter. So in that case, this is a very critical. Expansion case, it doesn't matter. Those velocity shear, I'm not saying it doesn't matter, but qualitatively, it just remains similar, even though you're using one or second. So that's the main conclusion by studying. So this is again, when I talk about the top here. As you can see, even though there is some differences, but nonetheless, qualitatively, almost the same. So that's the why regularized 13 or other momentum methods didn't have problem in the case of the microscale cases, because this flow field are common in many cases velocity shear. But immediately after you apply the same logic to shock structures, those methods in many cases fail because Q term is so again, this is a conservation law, the same conservation law. Then I will solve this visualized solution. That one is reflected in this equation. Don't lose the sight by mathematics. Just some equations, algebraic equations. Those equations will provide this kind of information. So here's important one is this one, pi xy. We already talked about it, pi yy. So we have the p plus pi yy. This symbol represents this Jeremy from the center to the y. But this is true. So always I will discuss about in reference of the centerline values. So that's convenient. And then Navier-Stokes case, this term will go away. This term will go away. So you simply pi xy is pi xy 0. But because it's second order, I have other. And also pi yy also have the pi g xx, the pi gg. But they look like very similar. Particularly, let's say pi yy. If you look at it's if you multiply -2 here, they become pi xx. So those the normal the shear stress, pi xx, pi yy, pi gg. Pi yy is the same as pi gg. The pi xx is 2 times bigger than pi yy, negative. We'll find this in exactly definition cases. So, but in this constant equation tell you just separate this. That's true. Otherwise, it's very difficult. How y pi xx should be bigger than this one and the 2 times this one. So nothing new. It just naturally coming from that one of the terms. And then this is we have the free, non-free rods. This is constituted equation of heat flux. So Navier-Stokes one is this one. Qy, then you ignore this term. So even though there is a, you can ignore it. And then again, pi y should be 0. Therefore, Qy equal Qy 0. That's the free rod. So we are using second order. We must have these terms and also a. Associated with gravity. Because of that, those non-free rod will look very different from free rod. So they will give you those temperature minimum, also Lucent minimums. Not from non-free. It's coming from non-free rod. So we must distinguish two. There is one non-classical Navier. This is non-classical free rod. Combined together. We need to solve because pi xy and the qy's appear in the same set of equations. Okay, so and then the exercise 2, we were able to see the question. This we know the answers. This one 1 plus tangent scale and the blah 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 blah. So the SHY. T double star is Ti, and this is constant. So therefore, I mentioned when I derived all those equations, I was scared. Realized that this particular tangent function, you have singularity, this term become pi over 2. I was worried about that. I was panicked. After all beautiful derivations, suddenly it has had a mistake. And then a couple of days I realized that this is constant, and this is maximum value is 0.5. Therefore, 0.5, let's say this is 1, this is really big numbers. Therefore, you are in big trouble. But later on, this T star double, remember that the Ti, its value is unknown. So therefore, if you do consistently all those equations, automatically this guy is determined such that this one never go to the singularity. There won't be a reason. Therefore, all those solutions have the valid solution for all the numbers. Remember what was input? Epsilon h, charge number, and the Lucent number. Lucent number infinity, it has used your solution. The reason is simple, because it's a balanced approach, but we didn't introduce any approximation other than that. Let me emphasize one. We didn't introduce any approximation. And then, this is, remember, the moment equations. Let's say d over dy, p plus pi yy is 0, which means, just imagine, without pi yy, p must be constant. Therefore, in Navier-Stokes framework, the process same direction, p is just constant. But because those, constitutive law, the pi y is not the 0 anymore. Therefore, that means, but remember, this should be, sum of two terms must be constant, mean one term is non-zero, which means this p will become also non-uniform. That's it. That's the why p is non-uniform, basically. So, in the force-driven flow, it's velocity dominated. So velocity gradient uy is there. Once that value is there, then pi yy immediately pop out. They will make p is non-uniform. Because pi y is not necessarily uniform. Because the velocity gradient will be not linear in this case. And therefore, this equation become P plus pi y must be P, but center, remember, velocity profile look like this one. Therefore, at the center, there is no slope because it's symmetry. Therefore, driving force is 0. Therefore, in that particular point, pi y must be 0. So, which means that's the Pn, minimum pressure. So, from this equation, this is, remember, conservation law of momentum. Very easy selectable notion. And then this was the non-Navier law. We talked about this kind of the stress, the constraint and so on. They combine together this one and this one. Remember, this pi x y here, the pi y there. You are putting this equation into here, pi y. They become this equation. Then pi y is somehow related to what? P over P. Remember, P is not uniform anymore. If Navier Stokes world, this is one, then they have to come, just to drop out. You don't need to have different kind of equations. So this is equation, and then this is y momentum equation. This is, let's say, another x the momentum equations. And then we have the pi xy is balanced by OA. Rho is the PRT. We are putting the P and RT, the T here. Then introducing this kind of mathematics, then this equation becomes d pi xy divided by dx equal. Anyway, important one is P star. P is, remember, this is variable. This is. And then combine together with this one and this one. Then they become this kind of the ODE. This is because I have D here, coming from D here. And then ds is coming from here. So right hand side, epsilon h is constant, so I can integrate the both hand integrate. The left hand is this time. So this is integral form you confront in this case d square root x minus 1. This is a good exercise, probably high school or college student. This is what you get. In my case, I just run it to the scientific workplace, and then the solution is a little bit how. This way you have inverse tangent function. So that's the y tangent function of it. Because of that solution is this one. And then once you obtain this one from this equation, pi y appear. And the pi y p is determined. Then we have a stress constraint. This pi xy. Then we have this kind of. So p is tangent scale. Pi y is again tangent scale. But pi xy is tangent, which means just like that. So look like linear. So I think this is the first purely analytical second order ancestral solution. Short way, you don't have the full analytical solution. This is the first time, the second order ancestral solution of the Boltzmann original. So very, it looks like it's very the instructive because it's harmonic functions. And the pressure is more fundamental than velocity. Remember, at this stage, we didn't talk about at all about velocity and temperature. These things will come later on when you apply non-Navier law, non-Fourier law. Not here. We only talk about conservation law and the constitutive stress, different form of constitutive equation. This stress constraint. So there is no approximation other than second order closure. And also, we didn't apply any slip and temperature for equation at this moment. So therefore, force-driven problem is somehow is not a matter of slip or jump condition. It's a matter of bulk free. So I'm not saying slip or jump condition is not important one, but generally this is more important one. Because pressure profile produced by not slip or jump condition, but by constitutive load within the bulk fluid. So therefore, this is monotomic. Tangent profile S is increasing 0 to 1/2 from the center to the wall. This is monotomic. It will never decrease. Just like this. Though for anything, any data to show aperture, in some sense it's wrong. So pressure must be, in particular, force-driven partial flow. Pressure must be center minimum, near 1. So at this moment, we don't have experimental data to support that one, but the decency and the molecular dynamics support exactly that. So this is, of course, and then 2011 papers. We have this incompressible Navier-Stokes solution, compressible Navier-Stokes solution, and NCCR. So all those previous figures all about this. So 1 plus tangent squares. In the case of diatomy, it's hyperbolic tangent. The compressible Navier-Stokes, we have S, and then if you assume isothermal, then they become 1. So you can see parallel. So this is you can find from the textbook or literature, but this is you can find from these papers. And if you use TDS and then DY, then this is the correct solution of Navier-Stokes. Other than that, it's very similar. Another one is pi y. This is restricted zero. For the case of NCCR, there must be zero. So let's say what is the Knudsen layer? Anything different from this one and this one. That's what you can say. So let's say non-uniform of pressure is a Knudsen layer effect or secondary effect. Let's say and the pi y normal stress non-zero, then you can say that's a Knudsen layer effect. And then Qy probably looks similar, but tangent heat flux, Navier-Stokes structure is non-zero, then you can say Knudsen layer. Or one other, there are many things you can tell about Knudsen layer effect. It's not just one thing. And then including all those things, then probably Knudsen minimum also, one might say, so this is summary of all those equations. And then I just repeat the pressure, and then the center 0.5 is the upper wall, this is lower wall, and then I plot 1 means the center value, and then you can see the open surface decency. But why we have this kind of thing? It's somehow near wall. The post-processing of the decency is maybe not that. That's the reason. And therefore, the stress is, let's say this is shear stress. Remember, in the NCCR solution is tangent. The tangent function is like this one, look like linear. So Navier-Stokes or NCCR, those the dark line is NCCR, the solid line is Navier-Stokes. The upper circle is TSMC. And then you have the non-zero normal shear stress this one. And then that normal shear stress value is, remember, minus 2 times. The pi y is minus 2 times of pi y. So the essence also look like this much is minus 2 times. So that kind of thing just explained by just a simplification. And then this is, remember, stress constraint, the ellipse. Navier-Stokes, it's just this line. There's no normal shear stress. A second order, this is ellipse. And this is what the SMC tells. You can see that how close they are. That demonstrates the existence of stress constraints in those cluster shear flow. Of course, this is error. Due to maybe not correct the post-processing of this. By the way, this data is, I think, because some maybe 10 or 20 years TSMC result, some Garcia. So probably you can do yourself. And then the little bit different, probably you can find those dollars somewhere. Not like this. Somewhere. And then this is famous one. Even though once you understand those physics, this we call bimodal. It's not just the monatomic, this kind of the quadratic distribution, but you have center line, minimum temperature, and then increase and then decrease. this is very well known. People say central temperature minimum or bimodal temperature zone. But nonetheless, this is easily captured by once you add that 8 terms. Remember, that's the easy part, in fact. If you keep just this term, you will just automatically coming from the momentum answer from Boltzmann kinetic equation. If you keep these terms, neglecting all these things, you will get the same thing. Therefore, it's not that crucial aspect of this force-driven project flow. The difficult part was actually pressure. And then once you have pressure right, once you have temperature right, then of course the last thing, P equal RT must be right. So this is density. So this is Navier-Stokes, this direct TSMC, this is circumference. And then this is normal heat flux. Navier-Stokes, NCCR, TSMC all looks the same. Did I give you the no velocity? Maybe this is the velocity. Oh, velocity is more like the same. And then finite heat flux, this is different. Navier-Stokes is strictly there. And then this is DSM solution, and this is circumference solution. So again, this is summary. Brief repetition. This is, let's say, the Q. This is 1, then cross the dot line. And once you keep Q, then you have those slightly different curves. Anyway, non-essential rollover dissipation term in the velocity shear problem, which means even I just approximate Q is just the first order, which is this one. It's more look like this one. Therefore, in particular velocity shear case, those dissipation terms is not very important. What is important is left hand segment. There was a lesson. By the way, the C appears. Let me explain what the C means. Not that crucial one, but that I think I skipped explanation of that. 1999. So this is the first paper to study use general hydrodynamics and to transform into the something I can handle. And then looks familiar, those constitutive equation. And then the kappa appeared here. That this is a kappa, remember the cumulant, first cumulant, the average of the distribution function. Kappa is this, you have the scalar product of the pi that you have put out. And then there is some extra terms, the diameter, viscosity, pressure, even temperature, and so on. This is the original kappa 1. Then I tried to non-dimensionalize this kappa term, and then using this kind of the molecular relationship, let's say viscosity is the power of the temperature, and this lambda is the maximum conductivity, and then this diameter is this kind of relation. The nu is the exponent of the inverse power law, the well-known in gas dynamics. The nu and the S related this way. Then Chapman-X book or other kinetic theory book, the viscosity can be expressed as this way, and then so some conductivity, and then there's a diameter. Sometimes TSMC use this kind of relationship, I guess. And then previous kappa terms reduced to this one. ATU is some kind of very complicated integral, the gamma and so on. So in the end, I could derive this kind of equations. Then once you assume molecules, specific molecules, like this one, the first I tried, let's say Maxwellian. Remember Maxwellian nu is 5, then those the collision integral are somehow simplified. Here, maybe similar, the nu is 5, the S is 1. So for Maxwellian, C become 1 0.0138. Anyway, important one is very close to 1. And the harder sphere, rigid elastic sphere, let's say nu become infinity, which is SH square root, and then that C become 1.19. Little bit bigger. So this reflect on the copper. So in my the computer program I distribute, I start to specify this value because of that. So it depending on either Maxwell or other sphere, and then this album, new 9, then they become 1.0. Anyway, very close to 1. So there is a slight difference. Therefore, constitutive law is a little bit slight, but not very much. So actually you can forget that. But nonetheless, the kappa 1 also reflects the difference of the potential of the decimal electrons, like Maxwell, other sphere, or other. So C was defined that way. So this was the program, second program, the F was a mass flow rate. So you plot there when this is the solid line is Navier-Stokes. So increasingly, the monotonically decrease. And once you have that non-Navier laws, then the final solution look like you have this extra term. T average. T average become here for High-Knudsen number is continuously increased. Exactly when this T average become higher, you have right. So that becomes something. Why? By the way, this is the last. As you can see, the SNC second order solution, Navier-Stokes, almost a perfect match. So if you only show velocity profile, that isn't that. All other things can be different. So velocity is most easy part. Please remember that. So it's misleading. So in order to explain those kind of Knudsen minimum, if just focus on velocity, it's a long place to try. You have to look at temperature. Now let's see particular case. So this is, as I told you, Knudsen temperature minimum is not that difficult part. The reason is simple. The original constitutive law of heat flux is this form. Not only you have the gravity, force associated term, multiplied by the shear stress. Important one is somehow the A force gravity times this force of shear stress become contribution to heat flux. And then this term is non-Navier second order character. So if this term is 0, then which means it's Navier law, which is this one. So I just try, for curiosity, just assume I was interested in what made those Knudsen minimum. So the beauty of the analysis is you can do that. Just let us assume this non-Navier second order effect is 0. Then drive all the way as I have done with all terms. That's easy because you ignore one term. That's I call Navier non-Fourier. And then as you can see, this is the answer. Even though I didn't publish it, I published some conference and so on. As you can see, this is Knudsen number 5. This is second one. NCCR non-Navier, non-Fourier, the true second order solution. And then, what is it? The Navier non-Fourier. Only you keeping these terms, then you have, again, consider the minimum temperature. Therefore, the ultimate reason of central temperature minimum is nothing to do with non-Navier law. It's only coming from this terms. That was the lesson. Why we have this kind of the compare? Because in Navier world, the pressure is uniform. Because that everything clicked together, but somehow you to focus on one aspect and then neglect everything, the pressure is uniform. Therefore, there's no way making this wrong. This is error. But nonetheless, there is error. So if your own model is check the temperature look like this one, that means you didn't do good job in pressure prediction. So anyway, this is proof. The ultimate source of the central minimum, temperature minimum in this particular case, and also the why we have Lucent minimum, because that extra term, non-free. So this is again, the dark line is second order true solution. As you can see, this term right, and then but at the same hand we have the Navier, non-Navier. So therefore, those extra term, non-free term is responsible for temperature central minimum and the Lucent minimum. The last slide is shows the heat flux from cold to hot. So I took normal heat flux. Remember, there was something like the tangent, the third power. So therefore, this kind of thing, Navier, SNC, second order all look like the same. So, but either you are interested in just normal heat flux and the shear viscous, Navier structure is pretty good. And then this is the, depending on different Lucent numbers, this is temperature profile. So easily, so you test the point 1, so you check that this kind of covers, maybe back to the home and try the substitute the trouble again in the put 5. Then they will give you this kind of solutions. So again, this central part take over. All this part is gone. And that is responsible for the Lucent minimum. Anyway, very interesting. If you are having the center temperature minimum, very, very complicated. And also, this is cold, this is hot. The heat flux is positive, which means heat flux is from the cold to hot. But it's local, at particulars from center to wall. So therefore, just you can question the Clausius principle, impossible to transfer heat from the cold to hot body, and so on. So one might say the previous solution is violating with the second order thermodynamics like Clausius principle. So you can say, if so, then how? If not, why? At this moment, those Clausius principle, if you remember lecture 2 or 3, it's basically about cycle. But in previous case, it's not cycle. So locally, which means from the center to the world directions, you could have that kind of heat flux from the cold to hot. So anyway, that flow phenomena doesn't violate those the positivity of entropy production. So I check those things with the Descent solution. Descent solution always give you the positive entropy production. So it's not violation of the circuit also. But in this case, those things happen because of gravity. Then we are interested without gravity, in general, 2-dimensional or 3-dimensional flow field with a finite number of highlights and delta. Can you have that kind of the local heat transfer from cold to hot? Answer is yes. Answer is yes. The reason is in the cavity flow. Professor Luhi, R-O-O-H-I, he did many kind of research work for the cavity flow. And also, he was trying to put some heat flux from the wall, change boundary condition. In this case, I assume the constant world temperature. Sometimes you can put it, heat flux there. Then what will happen? They said the solution give you the heat transfer from cold to hot is possible. Why is that so? Because direction of the heat flux is vector. So back to the original this equation. So let's say 2-dimensional. This Q is vector. We have Qx and Qy. So whether or not sign of Qx, Qy will determine all of those directions. Then how that direction sign will be determined. In Navex's case, you have only TX, T1, and so on. So there's no way there is the heat flux from cold to hot. Remember, there's extra term. There are second order terms. For some particular case, those extra terms can make heat flux is a little bit reversed. That's the ultimate reason why those heat transfer from cold to hot locally is possible even without these terms. Because these extra terms, depending on flow field or depending on boundary condition, can change the direction of heat flux. So all those things can be explained by this constitution. Okay, this is non-Fourier law trying to visualize in three-dimensional. So previous those non-Navier laws can be written as this one. This part is about, remember, those shear viscous stress is 3 over 3 plus 2, something like that. Similar, you have that kind of one. And then you have the extra term, the gravity times the shear stress. So because of that, because fluid moving, that generates these terms, combined with gravity, they will contribute heat flux. That's it. That's what happens. So if A is 0, then you could only have this kind of things. Because of that, in the Fourier law means these guys cannot contribute, which means this is 0, which is this line. So which is just the temperature gradient, linear proportions, like this one. So the period. But once you have pi xy multiplied by A, then all those surface represents this equation. So those look like very different from this. That's what I call non-Navier law. In the case of, we have the force field. So Fourier law is simply this one, but this is non-Navier law. So this is topology. So, and then summary. Important one is dominant role of the non-classical thermal physics. So all about temperature is very important. So by noting the non-classical cold to hot conductive heat flux, microcavity flow, most of non-classical results will hold in non-Fourier configurations as well. I already explained it. Then this is summary. So exotic properties, when those Henderson numbers, then let's say you have the non-Navier, non-Fourier, which is second order. This is icon, just Navier, non-Fourier. Then this can explain temperature minimum, Newton minimum. Because these two things, because non-Fourier effect. But this model cannot explain non-uniform pressure, non-zero normal stress, non-zero flux. In that case, you must activate non-Navier, in this case both. So one might say the most complicated one is non-zero tangential heat flux. So if you correctly predict tangential heat flux non-zero, then your model is okay. But you're just happy with temperature minimum zone, it's not a complete story. Even a right prediction of a temperature minimum, it cannot predict. So all of this, one might say, the non-Newton layer, something like that, the reflection effect. In particular, I think this one. All those three are symptom of second order effect, the outcome of second order effect. I explained already this one. Then Newton layer. So some cases, Newton layer is simpler than previous positive and positive flow. always moving. You see, this should be this way. It should not be this way. In this case, slightly different from first diagram. First diagram, A is input. In this case, what is input? Because always moving this Mach number based on wall velocity is input. Of course, velocity average is 0 because it's symmetry. But the temperature average is long. So you should define the average temperature and the percent numbers. And this is simpler than previous one because there is no gravity. So this is again conservation law. And then we are talking about this pi y y, pi x y is a function of the thermal gradient, temperature gradient, velocity gradient. In the case of a first order, the framework, this is just shear stress, this is heat flux. There is no pi x y. But the second order, we have those curved plot. Maybe plug into this equation. That's it. So each part is actually nonlinear velocity. Because once you assume non-isothermal, then it should be nonlinear. So the non-zero positive flux normal stress is coupling effect. The problem is like the velocity gradient singularity in the smaller slip. If you check the Jason solution, somehow the slip is small than the stops. So that kind of thing is not easy to understand. And this is how that problem is mathematically well posed. So input is Mach number, Nusselt number, and wall temperature. And then I allowing n can be infinity, Nusselt number can be infinity, positive temperature. And then from the conservation law, this is the primary solution. You applying some slip and jump condition. Remember, this is T average, the temperature average. Then you can determine from that information central temperature, central density. And then the temperature velocity in function of y, of course, system. And then you have shear stress and normal stress. And then finally you have heat flux. This is how analytically solution are developed. So this is the famous diagram of Nusselt layer. So Navier-Stokes, let's say without slip, just this one. It's also straight line. But as I mentioned, the smaller slip means, so this is, let's say, slip. Because this is full velocity line. So one means it's V. So without the slip, velocity proper look like this one. But once you have the first order framework, then your solution is more like the C is continuum, this one. And then the same solution also represented this blue line. That we call, because this slip is smaller than this slip. That kind of thing is very difficult to predict or provide. Why is that so? This triangle represents the slope. So we call this region is Nusselt layer. Nusselt layer. Because there's you slip. So slip load is not calling Nusselt layer. And that this KL is equal to why is that in the end? Because those smaller shear stress and the non-zero normal stress. And also let's say non-tangential heat flux and so on. By combination of those, you have this difference. That is what we call Nusselt layer effect. So this is very important diagram. But this is a solution. This is a solution. Again, TPS equal to dy. One can derive pressure U star in the slope. Define as du star over ds star. Remember, S is a scale by temperature. It's not same as dy. But in the case of the constant coefficient, that's the same as dy. So therefore, in that case, it's a slope. But Navier-Stokes is a very constant coefficient and so on. This S is not same as y. And then you have all kind of the heat flux, shear stress, of course, Navier-Stokes, pi y is always 0. And the second solution give you this kind of equation. Remember this kind of the relationship. The pi y, xy is minus 2 times bigger than pi y, something like that. That's the same thing here. Because this is again velocity shear flow. Only difference is, previous case is gravity driven flow, but this case is wall driven flow. So boundary condition play domain flow. Because everything generated by, from the beginning, the one. So boundary condition put in that boundary wall is important. But therefore, in that case, bulk of fluid flow is second order. Therefore, in my case, I applied second order Maxwell boundary conditions. So that is, those are the solution of that framework. Okay, maybe too complicated, but maybe next slide, I have physical reason. So this is summary of the Knudsen layer property. So, for example, nonlinear velocity profile. Because there is a non-isosomal flow, the factor 1 over Tn, if n is not 0, this cannot be just 1, appearing in this conservation law is the ultimate source of nonlinearity in the velocity profile. Because the centerline temperature is always greater than world temperature, regardless of degree of nonlinearity. But this is the reason. Why Newton layer we have nonlinearity? The first thing is because temperature, and the temperature dependence of viscosity. Once you assume constant viscosity, then always you will get linear profile. Whatever you do, those second order, third order constitution. Because these things are coming from conservation law. That makes a lot of people somehow misunderstood this property. They try to change many things to come up with some nonlinearity. But the answer is basically you need to take into account the temperature dependent of viscosity. And then combine with those second order or bonification sum. Then you will get nonlinearity. The smaller velocity slip and the shear stress, basically that is shear thinning behavior. Through the nonlinearity of the constitution, we call it shear thinning, meaning that shear stress is smaller than Navier-Stokes. Remember this term, shear thinning, very important. The opposite is shear thickening. Some average fluid, there is a shear thickening. But in gas, rarefied gas, always shear thinning. Because of that, we have smaller velocity slip, which we call Knudsen layer effect. The vanishing effect of viscosity at high Knudsen number like this. Remember this one. So second order constituent model predicts smaller shear stress in comparison to Navier-Stokes. Now velocity gradient singularity, that case is due to Q terms, hyperbolic sine terms. So Ex minus E minus X. Because of that, we have velocity gradient singularity, which means you have some function xn, and then you differentiate, which means nx n minus 1. Then if this is 1 of something like that, this is not exactly 1 of them, that become infinity. That we call velocity gradient singularity, which means it's power. Velocity is power. Why we have that kind of things? In the case of second order, due to Q. So most of the case, Q doesn't matter. Velocity, sure, the Q is somehow the stress constraint, it cancels out. But in this particular case, world-driven case, those Q terms, somehow, in this case, velocity gradient singularity play a role. In the large temperature difference, I explained this one. Remember previous this one. This is something I took 6 months to figure out this one. Because all the solution, when I increased Knudsen number, I was interested in qualitative trend. And then central, anyway, what is temperature? Let's say central temperature. Always should increase. The Navier-Stokes always reaching the top about transition and then going down. So was some of the technologies. And then only after I introduced those accommodation coefficient sigma t equal 1 plus Mach number percent time. That Mach number is well driven. Without that, one cannot make this number. So that's what I'm talking about. So that is basically dependence of the accommodation coefficient on wall velocity. So large temperature variance, combination of shear strength property and the energy previous on the cross stream, or this one, combination of shear strength property and the dependence of energy jump coefficient and delta through this one. I'm talking about, and delta is the same number times. So this is critical to describe the higher central temperature. Of course, non-zero normal stress is just the stress constraint. The relationship between primary and secondary normal stress, I mean pi xx, pi yy, minus 2. Because of that, the classification tell you this should be non-zero tangential reflux. Again, you have the extra terms. In the second order, pronounced the thermal effect finally become not just the first order equation is cubic equations. Because boundary condition is moving into the bulk fluid flow. So that we have the cubic equations. That kind of thing, it looks like very simple problem, but very difficult problem to solve. But this is velocity slope. So this is decency. Then this is less than Navier-Stokes. And then this is second solution. And then this is, in the case of Mach 28, this is Knudsen layer, the cut flow. And then this is second order solution. This is Navier-Stokes solution. The difference is due to was second order effect. And then this is decency and the comparison. So what was the stress? So this is the pi xx. This is the second order theory. This is the decency solution. It should be pi xx, constant. But again, in many cases, decency does not impose such one. We have in general, we have slight curvature, but that curvature is in fact some errors, there's error. But nonetheless, not that big. And then this is of course Navier-Stokes is 0. Normal stress is strict 0. And then this is again decency. You can see the sign is consistent with the decency, also the magnitude is. So let's say here is 2 times bigger than this one. The same is the second order theory. This is pi xy, Navier-Stokes, and the second order decency. In any case, that kind of agreement is not bad. And then this is heat flux. As you can see, normal heat flux is everything is the same. Even Navier-Stokes is pretty good. Only tangential heat flux. Navier-Stokes always tell you it's 0. And then this is the essential solution. This is second order solution. So those are very important because this is what the second order theory will tell you. Because this is again non-conservative value, stress tensor and heat flux. Okay. So any questions?